Hello, this is Jarrett, and I'm playing Oxygen Not Included. This is my fourth episode of this playthrough, and this is going to be about cycle 76 to 100. And my goal is to get the Carnivore Achievement. In fact, I have to get it if I want to get it at all by this point, because if I don't get it by cycle 100, it is bust. And what I'll likely end up doing is going back to probably cycle 50 or so and starting again. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm pretty confident I will get it. Not as comfortably as I had hoped originally, because I had a fumble, which, if you saw my last episode, there was a conveyor chute I had forgot to delete or destroy. Anyway, over here, I'm just allowing more polluted water to be stored. And oh yeah, what I'm doing too is fast forwarding through the egg process anytime I do the egg selection or do the egg incubation process. You may notice that goes a little bit faster. It's just the same monotonous thing. It's quite annoying for me. I suspect you don't want to see it and go through it as many times as I have, so that's why I sped that up. Alright, so notice that I've turned off the research red bolt generator. And, well, like I said, the only thing I want to have researched is solar panels and glass forge. Once I've got that, then I'd rather construct those, the solar panels that is, and the glass that required to make it, and not run the red bolt generator for something else until that exists, because that is a heavy use of power. The incubator is also a heavy use of power, but I've got this technique which allows me to only run it for a short period of time for every egg. Okay, so what I'm doing over here is I'm just putting an automation spot for sand to be able to have this sweeper take a bin of sand and throw it in that glass forge when it's needed. So that'll just help speed up the process a little bit. Otherwise, what'll happen is when the dupe finishes making some glass, they or some other dupe will have to go somewhere else in the world, wherever there is access to sand, pick it up, transport it all the way down, and put it in there. This is going to be much more efficient because it'll already be sitting there when it's needed, and the dupe doesn't even have to put it in. The sweeper will do it. Just realized I've got a mistake here in my oxygen filter system. It's not actually going through the actual system, so that'll start to put oxygen in those gas masks. And that's going to be necessary for when my dupes go outside and start installing the solar array on top of this base. And that's going to allow me to produce more power and put me in a position where I can start consuming power without the stress that I was in when I was running the red bolt generator. I am now running a pump to be able to do that. It's going to be actually a new dupe coming here. So I am running oxygen pumps that is I'm starting to consume more power. But the filter system is set up that when oxygen is filled up, it will turn off that, well, it won't directly turn off the pump, but it's going to cut off the oxygen pipe, ultimately turn the pump off when it's not needed. So it won't run forever once it finally fills all the oxygen masks. Alright, so going through the egg process every day, looking to see if there's any barbecue meat that is needed. And if so, I will attack a few critters. And a really nice thing about that is the fact that I'm only attacking them as I need it, so food isn't going to spoil, or at least be as likely to spoil, versus if I just attack all the critters as they arrive. So just doing some digging at the top of the world. This is going to make putting the solar array a little bit easier when I get up there, because I want to make that thing flat. It doesn't have to be. I definitely have designs where I've gone on an angle going up, but I'm just going to have a simple flat solar array going left and right at the exit of that base. It's occasionally you can see that I'm getting water in the spot where the critters are, and I have no idea why that is. I thought it was a leak that was coming from up there, and just taking note of that, I'm actually out of water from the water pitch. That's needed for research, so I'm going to have to provide another spot. And what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to also extend the Great Hall, because I'm going to be taking on new dupes and I won't have enough spot for that, so I'll extend that over there. Also, going to move the batteries to this cold zone. So batteries do release a little bit of heat, And I actually want to build other things where the batteries currently are, so I'm going to actually increase it from 3 batteries to 5. And not too concerned about that spot because it's extremely cold. And what I'm going to do now that I've got those is destroy my 3 batteries up here. And I'm going to build a little spot here to store water. So water is being supplied from the other planetoid. And I've got a dupe over there. And they're, well, one of the things that they do is look after the critters so I can pump over some more eggs. But they also run the manual generator, allowing the pump to run. And that's going to allow this to flow water into this base. I'm deciding where that's going to be. And I might as well move the research station that requires water right next to it. So when a dupe fills up the water bottle, they can just go right next to it and put it on. And I'll give a light for either of those machines to be able to have a well-lit bonus for my dupes. Alright, so just attacking again, some more dupes. And confused as to where this water is. I'm wondering if there's ice there. I don't think there is. I don't recall ice, so I'm confused how that keeps happening. I'll have to do some investigation because that's getting quite annoying. Water keeps spilling out on that floor. I don't know if it's one of the critters that produces water. I don't know that. No, there is no critter that just produces water, so that makes no sense to me. Anyways, let's continue on. So I'm going to get this solar panel started. That's got to connect into the heavy watt circuit, so that can provide extra power during the daytime anyways. And going through the egg process again, I'm going to fast forward through this a little bit. It's the same technique. The only thing that's going to really change is eventually I won't need to use the incubator anymore because I'll have enough. Just looking to see how much. Over half the over 200,000 calories, so less than 200, about 180,000 calories to go. This also less than 20 cycles to do it, so it's going to be pretty close, unfortunately. I was hoping to avoid this situation, but as if you've seen the last episode, oh my goodness, I've never seen this before. A dupe actually got trapped by a solar panel. I've seen them do this with regular tiles, but never with that, so they're dumb enough to get trapped by that as well. Okay, so I learned that, whatever. I am thankful for the fact that the game does make that a pop-up alert to allow you to do that. I find it doesn't do that so much when they starve. And I've had dupes starve without even realizing, and then I notice I'm short a dupe maybe a cycle later, but when they're trapped it makes it quite obvious, so I'm happy about that fact, because I don't like the idea of having... Okay, my theory here is I've got a bottle of water, and maybe it's the pips. I know the pips are a bit annoying. They go into your storage bin and will empty it. Maybe they do the same thing with water bottles. I don't know how the first water bottle got there. Maybe that became dripped from the water source above. And ever since I had a water bottle, all I'm doing is mopping it up, allowing a pip to be able to have access to it, and water is on the floor. I didn't actually know that pips did that. So that's kind of news to me, if that is the case. I just can't find any other explanation. The other thing is I'm quite short on metal ore. I'm very happy about the fact that I chose a metal-rich world, because I would have ran out of metal much earlier. Probably if I had have done this again, I know I'm going after every single achievement, but one of the things that I've done is I'm feeding the... Was it the rock? No, not rock. Stone hatches. I'm feeding them metal ore. Aluminum. If I had gone back, I'd probably avoid doing that and rather keep my metal to advance the base progress and all things that they can do with metal. And I would go after the down the hatch achievement later on. But whatever, I'm there making progress. I've got a first smooth hatch. And I think I've got a lot of the metal that I need, though I will need a little bit more. But I do have a huge source over on the other world, which I have not tapped into yet. I can send a miner or digger over there to dig out a lot of the copper and have it teleported over here. So I'll be fine with that. And I've got a few other spots to dig out some more over this side. So notice there, I put a water bottle emptier, and I'm going to put that as high priority for water, because I think it's the pips. That's my theory, and I've got to keep mopping and mopping and mopping, and I'm going to put that bottle emptier at high priority to remove those bottles that are inside that zone, and we'll see if that fixes the problem. If that stops leaking water on there, then that must be what is happening. For when it started happening, I thought that maybe there was some process of producing water. I was a little bit excited, like maybe one of the critters, or there's just some other, perhaps even a bug in the game that's just outputting free water at that spot. But I think that's optimistic. I don't think that is what is going on. And that, oh, there's back. Dang. What is with that? I'll keep mopping up, and hopefully my dupes will pick up the bottles of water that is there. So there is a smooth hatch egg. That is awesome. I'm going to put that in to be incubated, and I'm going to have the third stable that you see here on the far left be filled with stone hatches. No, not stone hatches, the smooth hatches. And I will let them eat some metal ore, even though I don't really like the idea of that. So I just remember too, I've got a dupe over on the other world. I've got 10 dupes right now, but only 9 here, and I have all the barbecue meat over here, which means the one dupe that is over in that world is not consuming barbecue meat. So they're not going to add towards the amount of calories that is my dupes eating meat to get the Carnivore Achievement. So what I have here is a simple system to put exactly 1 kilogram of barbecue meat. I just want the very minimum amount to be thrown over in that world to be teleported, so that the dupe over there can start eating meat as a source. And that will provide them with food, but that will also allow them to contribute towards the goal of getting this achievement. So now, instead of having 9 dupes or 9,000 calories to eat, I have the potential of 10,000. I say potential because if I don't have enough meat, or if my dupes just for some other reason, which happens, they grab some other than barbecue meat, then they're not contributing for that process, at least for that cycle. Okay, carbon dioxide is building up down in this area, and this is where I have the glass forge. So whoever is operating the glass forge, you can see they're running out of oxygen. That is not cool. So what I'm going to do is dig down a little bit, and I'm going to remove the carbon dioxide skimmer that is currently where it is and bring it down to this spot. I have positive temperatures in this area, it's like 5 degrees or so. But the idea is, more water. The idea is I'm going to put it through some insulated pipes, and I expect that'll be okay in that zone because the metal refinery is running. That's going to keep that area from freezing, so that water that is in the pipes that goes into the carbon skimmer won't freeze. At least that is a theory, and we'll see how this thing runs out. So what this is going to do is just allows the person who's going to be producing glass, because I want a lot of glass to be produced. I want enough solar panels for this world, but I also want them to produce the glass for other asteroids that I'll be traveling to. And I'm hoping the first asteroid that I will discover will be the Desolans. That's the one that has oil. I want oil, iron, and the deco critter, as I believe it is called. So I want access to that before any of the other asteroids. And when I get over there, I want to bring some glass with me so I can make solar panels, so whoever is discovering that world and building things doesn't have to be on the manual generator as often. But, well, before I do that, and that won't be in this episode, maybe it'll be in the next one, but before I do that, I need a solar array on this base to reduce the amount of times that dupes are on manual generators in this world. And hopefully, now that I know that dupes can be stuck in solar panels, they don't get stuck there. But the game will let me know. I can destroy, unfortunately, it's kind of annoying, but I'd have to destroy the solar panel to get them out. I really feel like that's a bug. Even though the game lets you know it happens, I really feel they should know enough not to trap themselves out. Or instead of having to destroy a tile or just dig them out or destroy a solar panel, it'd be nice if they're just one tile down. If a dupe had the ability just to grab them, pull them up, that'd be a nice little thing in the game. And that would just kind of prevent those sort of monotonous situations. It doesn't happen very often, but unfortunately when it does alert you to that fact. But I do find it seems like that's a bug as opposed to something that you're actually supposed to monitor or watch. But that's just my opinion. Alright, so this dupe is looking after our eggs. Still going through this process. I'm probably still going to go through that on in the next probably 2, maybe 3 episodes, while I still depend on meat as a food source. What I'm thinking of doing, so notice here I'm just adding light here for these 2 machines when they operate. But what I'm thinking of doing is growing some plant food. I already have the Carnivore Achievement at this point, so I can now plant stuff in planter boxes, but I don't want to do that right now until I get the Carnivore Achievement because I don't want them to eat anything but meat. But when I do have the Carnivore Achievement, I'm thinking about planting some sleet wheat. I'm going to have to cool it down, so I'll need a cooling system and all that, and a little bit of those pepper plants. And I'll start to produce some pepper bread with that. And that, once I get enough of that for the 10 dupes, assuming that I've got 10 at that point, then I will remove this food system. The hatches can go. The pips can go. I'll probably keep 1 or 2 pip staples running for a while because I actually want the pips to survive. The hatches I don't care so much about, because as long as I have the down the hatch achievement, so as long as the smooth hatches have produced 10 tons of metal, I'll probably get rid of them because they are consuming a lot of material. And what my thinking is, this is different from the last playthrough. Last playthrough, I tried to plant some wild sleet wheat, and it was working. I'm going to do that same system, but it takes a long time to get there. And my idea is I can plant some sleet wheat and pepper bread, or effectively make pepper bread with planting stuff really quickly. And that's going to require water. It's going to require temperature management. It's going to require a farmer, fertilization, all that good stuff. And then once I have that, then I'll, in slower time, start the process of wild plants, so that I don't have to have farmers and I don't have to have the material, water, and all that cooling to make sleet wheat and the pepper bread. And I'll still have to cook the pepper bread, but at least I won't need all the water that sleet wheat takes. I won't need polluted water that the pepper plant takes, and that'll just improve the amount of resources that I have. Okay, so this is a risky building. The reason that this is risky is because it is exposing the scientist or whoever is going to operate it to space where there is a lot of radiation. I remember the playthrough quite well where they all of a sudden increased the radiation in space significantly because you used to be able to have the telescope operate, not really worry, but that is no longer the case. That's why I've got this timer. I'm basically limiting the amount of time that the scientist or whoever's going to have who's going to operate that is going to be up there, because if you allow them to run through or allow them to be up there all day long, they're going to get radiation poisoning, and that may not necessarily kill them unless they're there for long enough. But what it'll do, it'll get the dupes to essentially be sick everywhere. So they're going to make a mess, and you'll have a lot of polluted water all over your base, and all the other dupes are going to be walking through it, and that'll up their stress level, and all those little bits of polluted water also make polluted oxygen in there. Anyway, it's just a mess. So hopefully I didn't risk having the amount of time that they operate that to be too much. In the past I was a little bit conservative. I did about 10% of the day, and I found that was not enough time. As in, they were not getting sick, and it was a really slow process of discovering stuff in space. So just doing some research. I'll probably eventually want a system to convert salt water to regular water at some point, so just have that handy. Just getting my dupes to attack some critters for meat. That is going to contribute towards Carnivore Achievement. And then, so I just noticed the door is opening too quick, so just upping the setting there. But unfortunately, this system is going to have to continue on if I want to maintain the morale value going forward. So I could switch to mealwood, and I was kind of tempted to, but the big drawback from that is I'll have, as I mentioned, a huge drop in the morale, because they're getting actually quite a bit of morale bonus for eating meat. So just looking around here, and I decided I want to save. I don't unless there could be one hitting on the bottom left, but it looks like I only have one of these hives. In the last playthrough, all my hives got destroyed. I think one or two of them flooded, and I don't know what happened. One was in a hydrogen area, and I don't know if that just became overpressured, and there was another one that just became destroyed. If there's no critters, so I'm just having a look at scientist as they're making progress. If there's no critters, what are they? The beta bees. They simply digging out and making sure that the hive is healthy. They will actually come back to life. So you don't have to worry if it's just the hive by itself. At least that's what I'm hoping is going to happen, because I don't see any of those critters. All right, Carnivore Achievement is getting close here. I have enough to be able to get it. It's going to be close, annoyingly. I'm probably going to get to like 97, 98 or so, and get that. So Locavore is in hand, so I don't have to worry about that. But almost 340, so 60,000 or 62,000 calories to go, with 10 dupes. One of them's over the other world, you've got to remember. So they'll need to have meat. But with that, I'll definitely feel like I'm going to get it, but it's not working out the way I had thought. So whatever, it is what it is. I think that a lot of that is just because this section down here, I forgot that Sweetles were being dropped off, or their eggs were being dropped off anyway. So I'm going to bring Cook back to the world, because that's going to make it so that I've got all the meat over here, and every cycle I'll get 10,000 calories of meat consumed, assuming they'll go after it. And that's pretty much the only food source I'm making, other than a few wild plants. So I would expect that all the calories that are being consumed is going to be in the form of barbecue meat. And if I look at the total number of calories I have in total barbecue meat, that is indicating that that's the case. So that is a good thing. Because I honestly just want to nip this off, finish the Carnivore Achievement, and work towards other things, because this is quite an annoying one to get. Anyways, I do expect, if I had not made that mistake with the friggin' chute, I'd be in a much prettier situation. I was hoping maybe the 70s before when I got that achievement. Anyway, as long as I get it for 100, I will just move on. The other thing that I've got to watch too is those pips. Actually, there's a smooth hatch in there. I got to make sure that I don't kill off all those. I want to make sure that they actually get inside this stable, which is actually too big. So speaking of which, I've got to take down that size. I've got to tell my dupes to drop off this smooth hatch. I will then go find it. It's that one there. They'll wrangle that. So I don't want to just be attacking random critters at this point because I still want to selectively go after the smooth hatches. I've got another smooth hatch egg. And that's going to allow me to start to work on the down the hatch achievement as well as produce some refined metal without the metal refinery, which I don't really need at this point. So this is really just about the down the hatch achievement. But it also gets food out of the process. The downside of stone hatches and smooth hatches is that they have a lot of health, which you think is great, but if your process for killing them is attacking them, it takes the dupes a long time to do that. There is another setup that I've done in the past, which is putting the eggs in water and trapping them via a door so that they drowned. So if you do want to avoid that, and if I were to automate this system a little bit further, I would probably do that. And I may think about doing that, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to go with the pepper bread farm option. Because I don't think it'll take too long to make that. And that's actually a higher morale value anyways. Okay, so just going through all the eggs. Because even after I get the Carnivore Achievement, for a period of time, as I mentioned, I'm going to rely on. Oh, there's the first beta bee. Is it? I think that's what it's called. So that just went out of the hive, and I've got the sweeter than honey because I've told the dupes to take out the enriched uranium that is in the hive because there's no bees that are flying around. They won't be stung when they're going in there. I've never actually had a dupe be stung, at least not that I'm aware. Maybe I guess the game probably doesn't alert you to that fact. They probably have, and I just never knew. But I've never saw one of my dupes actually be stung by one of those critters. I feel like that only happens when you actually attack the hive, which I've never done. Never just simply by taking it out. Also, that if you look at the achievement board, at least on Steam, I think it's like a really low number of people have gotten that achievement. And in my mind, that's one of the easier ones to get. All you need to do is click on the hive, there's a button there that says extract the uranium, and your dupes will automatically go in there. And as long as they go in there and don't get stung, you get that achievement. So, I don't know. It may be one of those things that people don't realize that clicking on the hive has that option. They just see the hive and think, oh, it's a new critter. I don't know what to do with it. Because that's basically what I was thinking for the longest time. And the only reason I even knew that you could get uranium out of that, enriched uranium that is because of that achievement. I saw, oh, this is what you have to do. I didn't even know there was a button to get that. The other thing that is nice, once you do discover that, is the bees actually create enriched uranium at a far more effective rate at the conversion of uranium ore to uranium, enriched uranium. So knowing that fact, I really want that hive to survive. And that may not happen. It didn't work out for me the last time, but okay, but I'll see what happens here. So I've realized that I've removed the carbon skimmer. I actually need carbon dioxide. I've always, or most of the time anyways, I've played in this world, I've been lucky finding a carbon dioxide geyser, a cold one. And that is not the case here. Maybe there's one in the far left that I haven't explored yet, but I haven't seen that, which means I'm going to need carbon dioxide. I'm going to have a carbon dioxide engine. Notice that I built a platform at the top. So I need to fill that with carbon dioxide. I don't need to filter it out. If you put some gases other than that, it kind of auto filters. But I also see a little bit of chlorine. I'm putting a filter system in to trap that chlorine, such that I'll be able to use that in the future. So I'm going to actually bring this further down because I want to have the detector for oxygen to be higher up. Reason for that is I don't want this pump to be pumping oxygen, because if it is going to pump oxygen, that'll go into the rocket and just be wasted. So I want to have the detector. I've got a detector there. It's going to look for oxygen, a NOT gate, basically saying as long as there's not oxygen, allow that pump to run. Now, you will have to be careful if you've got polluted oxygen in the area, and that could be solved by a simple filter for, or what is it, those little things, I've completely forgot, the deodorizers. Because what'll happen is if it detects polluted oxygen, it'll say, okay, there's no oxygen here, keep running the pump, and it might be removing all the polluted oxygen and sending that out of your base, which you don't want to have happen because it's a lot easier just to clean that than it is to get rid of it and just produce new oxygen. So here it is. A carbon dioxide as well as possibly a little bit of chlorine is going to go through this. I've got a system to detect if it's chlorine. If it is, it's going to go into that gas reservoir and be stored for later. That's what I'm going to likely use to clean water or polluted water that goes out of the washroom. And the oxygen, or this isn't oxygen rather, sorry, this is carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide line is going to go up and eventually make its way into a carbon dioxide engine. And that is going to be the first transportation system for getting my dupes to the decimal ends. At least that's the hope. That's assuming that one question mark. I've never been so unlucky in my placement of a planetoid that I only have a single question mark. So I'm really hoping, I'm assuming I've always had the decimal ends as part of that. I'm assuming that's part of the requirement that the game does, is forces at least the decimal ends to be within range of your telescope. If that's not the case, I'll be surprised and we'll have to come up with a plan B. But I'm just going to be optimistic for the time being that is the case. Cycle 95. And polluted water is on the floor. And I was a bit worried that was because the washroom was backed up. That's not the case. So the washroom is almost backed up, so I'm going to put in some liquid reservoirs. But that must be from scientists that is looking out in space, being exposed to radiation. So it looks like this system here needs to be scaled back a little bit. I was a little bit too optimistic about how much time I thought they could handle space. Alright, so just notice that one of the batteries needs a tile underneath it, specifying this to be chlorine, so that when that is constructed, a little bit of chlorine will go in there, and I can use that in the future. And unfortunately, I built that in the wrong spot. I should have built it one tile to the left, but whatever. I'll live with that. So I'm going to have to start mopping up polluted oxygen, or polluted water rather. So what happens is your dupes will get radiation poisoning, and they'll just start making a mess everywhere. So in the process, every time they do that, they actually remove some radiation, which is good, but leaves a mess everywhere. So that's just an annoying thing to do. So what I've done, what I'm going to start to do here, is build up the rocket. Probably in the next episode, I will be firing that off and traveling to that question mark, assuming that question mark, of course, is actually the decimal ends, which I'm just going to assume for the case that is. Otherwise, this next episode will be very interesting, to say the least, because that's my whole assumption for this world of how to survive, is to get to there. Without the ability to do that, I guess I would have to construct a Radbolt engine and figure it out. Anyway, we'll see. I've teleported this dupe back, and the reason for that is because water has stopped arriving in this world, because no one is using the manual generator, which is over in that world, which is putting me in a situation of not getting oxygen anymore. And eventually, if that were to go on, the washroom would stop operating as well. And even more people would be getting sick everywhere. So that's not a great thing. Okay, so just going to put some deodorizers here next to the polluted water. Surprised I haven't made a polluted water to oxygen system yet. I think I've been just too distracted and see very low in oxygen. But the dupe will eventually get over here. Oh, they're not in the manual generator. They'll find their way there. and that will bring water and with it oxygen to this world again. All right. This has been quite a much more annoying playthrough than I had thought. There's the question mark, which I'm hoping this does lens. It never goes super well, and I think the main thing is the fact that the incubator system, as great as it is, and it works, gets me my achievement, and I've done that with several playthroughs so far. It's just annoying. So I'm almost here. I'm almost at the Carnivore Achievement, and when I finally get there, I can celebrate and start to focus on other things. So what I'm going to do in the next few videos is switch things up. Ha! There it is! Okay. Alright. Okay, so let's talk about what I'm gonna do differently going forward. I'm probably not gonna film the entire videos for the next, or the entire playthrough. Rather, I'll just start going back to highlights. And the first thing, actually, I'm going to do research here for the enclosed telescope. And I'm going to see if, so what that says is the radiation protection is 50% and 100% for light. So in theory, that a dupe can use the telescope for twice the amount of time that they can with a regular telescope with respect to the amount of radiation that they're getting. So hopefully in the next episode, I will discover that's the Desalins, and I will send my rocket there. If not, I don't know. We'll see. As I mentioned, I'm going to change up the style a little bit in the next episode going forward, just because I think some of the next projects are going to be larger, and I think having a big video on just to do one big thing isn't going to be as exciting. Versus the first 100 cycles where I tend to do a lot of things at once. I'll kind of go back to the idea of concentrating on really big projects. I am out of metal ore, and I noticed there's a cluster here. I'm just realizing there's iron ore in this world. I've never played this with iron ore. I guess that's because the metal caves. I've assumed the metal cave would contain local metal, which would be aluminum ore, but that's actually not the case. I've got cobalt and iron, and I've got to think, can I make use of that? The fact that I have access to that now. I could make steel, but that's not really useful unless I also have plastic. So I'm still going to have to go to the Desalins. I was wondering if that was going to save me from being so dependent on oil or other form of plastic. But I don't think that's going to be the case. It's going to get rid of that telescope. That's the thing that's making my dupe sick. Now, the one thing about this machine is I need oxygen. So I've got an oxygen line in the area that's filling up the masks. I've just filled it up with there. I noticed the dupe is in there. They're wearing a mask. They probably don't have to be, but whatever. That will do for this episode.